how's it going?
Good, how you doing?
Good, thanks. Can you get a sense for teams' like resolve based on how they respond after disappointment, and what I guess have you seen from them the last few days?
Yeah, I mean, you can, I think when you know, whether you win or lose, there's always a period of getting over a game. It's the same when you win. And that's that kind of that process of Sunday, we come in and watch the film. Monday, the guys are off. You know, they don't really have anything on Monday. So when you really start to get a sense is Tuesday when you get in the meetings and get on the practice field and, you know, just the look in their eye and I mean, Tuesday practice is the hardest practice of the week. So how do they approach it? What's their mindset? And today was great. I mean, they came out and, great focus, great edge, and you know, sometimes it's harder to bounce back from a huge win, honestly. You know, so when you don't win, I think it's a refocus of we got to do these things to get back on track. So I thought it was good.
Ira?
Can you just talk about, you know, Randy as a player and all the different ways you guys are able to use him? Is that obviously it's physical, but also the mental aspect to be able to handle all that?
Yeah, he's a really smart player. You know, he was with Coach Malzahn obviously at Central Florida and knows the offense really well. That gives him a really good. He's got a great knowledge of the system, but he's also a very smart player. Like he understands kind of a lot of times the next level of what we're thinking, and if we're running a play that's going to set up a play later. I mean, he understands a lot of it, and then he combines that with really good physicality in the run game. Plays really hard, really aggressive player as a blocker, and then if you just watch his routes, if you just watch the times that he gets matched up in man coverage, there's really, I mean, in the last couple weeks, I can't remember many plays where I thought he didn't create separation. You know, he might not have got the ball thrown to him, but as you're grading the film, as you're watching it, he's creating separation against safeties, linebackers, and that's really the mark of a player who, you know, a lot of times tight ends can block, a lot of them understand the system, but then can they separate in the pass game? You know, not a lot of guys can do that, or they can separate in the pass game, but they're not very good blockers. You know, it's usually, a lot of times it's one or the other. With him, he does both really well, and you know, he's playing at a high level. You know, it means a lot to him. That's the thing. He's a guy that he loves football. He loves the opportunity here at Florida State. You know, he grew up pretty close to here. I watched him play in high school basketball and football more than any player that I watched, because I started watching him so young. And you know, so you could see that at a young age. As a freshman on film, I mean, he was a guy that had the mentality. You know, but his lack of size, you didn't know exactly how that would translate to this level, because he's not, you know, he doesn't have those measurables that, you know, those high-end measurables. But you know, weight-wise, he's 237 or 80, he's fine. He's just not a, you know, super tall guy, but he brings an edge and a grit that makes other people better. That's what I appreciate about him.
Brendan? Following up on that, you mentioned him as a blocker and receiver, but even like the uniqueness of throw for a touchdown, run for a touchdown, line him up all over the place. I guess one, how unique is that? And then your responsibility, duty as a coach to try to find different ways week to week to utilize that.
Yeah, that's unique. Obviously, you don't see a lot of tight ends doing all that, but really that speaks to his ability to grasp all those things. Because even something you take for granted, like the direct run against Virginia for a touchdown down around the goal line, you have to send a guy in motion. You have to do the cadence. You have to do things that quarterbacks routinely do, but you don't get to do a lot. And all that stuff, he can put it together really quickly. So that allows Coach Malzahn to use him in a lot of different ways. And then the same thing with the little jump pass, like that was, you always hope there's a little bit more separation with the line than what happened on that play, but somebody kind of got into him a little bit and he was able to dump it. I mean, he just, you know, he's a football player. He's an athlete. And like I said, watching him play basketball in high school, the guy could elevate, dunk, and, you know, he was a physical player, even in basketball. I saw him get a technical one night because he just plays with an edge, nothing bad. He just was getting physical with people. And so, you know, just a guy that brings a lot of different things that Coach Malzahn can implement for sure.
Chris?
Thomas, where is he right now for you guys, and what does he have to do to carve out more of an opportunity?
Yeah, the time that he missed, you know, later part of summer workouts and then missed a good bit of training camp, you know, that limited, you know, kind of his grasp of everything Coach Malzahn's trying to do. Against, you know, the second, third game, you know, we had him in a specific role, and he did a good job with that. You know, he's still putting a lot of the things together with the offense just because of the missed time. And so, you know, he's in that spot right now where he's, you know, you're waiting for that opportunity when that time comes, and, you know, the practice time is so important to get caught up a little bit. So that's kind of where he's at right now.
Leo?
With Amari, we've seen him getting a little bit more action on the defensive side of the ball. Is he still getting involved, and is the plan to still kind of have him go both ways?
Yeah, he's still, he's probably, with Randy back, he's probably focusing a little more on defense right now, but I still do go anything new in the offensive game plan, that, you know, that's there each week. We always obviously have a few new things each week, try to keep him up to date on that. You know, you go into this game with Randy, Marquise, and Landon, and then if something crazy happened, probably grab Amari back. He's a smart guy, he can handle that type of stuff. But, you know, I think when you're trying to play both ways closer to the ball, when you're like that closer to the ball, it's a little more involved than it is for a corner or somebody like that. But, you know, for him, it's just try to have the majority of the focus on one side and then packages on the other, whether it's, you know, either way. So, but, you know, he's done a really good job picking all that up.
It's hard, I know it's hard to compare players from teams and things like that, but those ends Miami had, I'm sure there was a big emphasis going into the game. Were they as good or better than you guys expected? And kind of, can you contextualize how good they are compared to what other guys you guys have gone against?
Yeah, they're what I thought they were, and I've got a unique perspective because of coaching offensive line for a long time. I've gone against Myles Garrett, Bosa at Ohio State. Well, we played Ohio State one year, and Bosa was on one side and Chase Young was on the other. You know, guys like that, and so I think those guys are in that. You know, those are very active, physical players with. You know, I think the unique thing about both those guys is I think they're in that 260 range. You know, maybe even 270, but they've got movements like a 245, 250 guy. You know, and so. That creates problems. You know, this guy can up and under me. He's got this kind of movement here, but he's also got a little more power than the average guy. Those are the ones that create big problems. And you know, I mean, we knew going in what they were, and you know, they did a great job in the game and affected the game, and that's what they've been doing all year.
Brendan?
Going back on Amari, for you just to see him get on the field and like he got a sack against the FSU a couple of weeks ago and productive this past week, and even if it's not on your side of the ball, just knowing him, the work he's put in, I guess, what has that meant to you to kind of see him?
It's awesome. Like I got to, a lot of times I'm with the guys on offense on the bench talking through stuff, but I saw him get a pressure and either hit the quarterback or I couldn't see exactly what happened, but you know, for him, like the work ethic, the talent that he has, but then the character of the person, you know, you want to see all these guys be successful, but he's just one of those guys that he's got tremendous character. He's a team guy. I know at Virginia he wasn't playing as many reps, and every time Randy scored, he was the first one to congratulate him. He's just that kind of. He just wants to. His deal is I want to win. You know, whether it's offense, defense. So when you see him have success, whatever it is, it's a great thing to see that. Great kid.
Corey?
What does Pitt do well defensively and not giving away game plan, honestly, but how do you go about attacking a team that seems that aggressive?
Yeah, I mean, Coach Narduzzi is you know, that's been his whole life basically as a coach is figuring out ways to cause problems for an offense. And so, you know, that shows up on tape. I work for Gary Patterson, you know, at TCU, and those guys that make their head coaches, but they made their living on defense. I mean, they're tough. Their teams play tough. schematically, you know, they do things that give you problems. You know, he's done it for so long, and we've gone against him 2 times since I've been here, and you know, I think the first time they beat us, the second time we beat them, but it was, you know, from an offensive perspective, it's gonna, you know, you gotta do everything just right. You know, he's a guy that'll play in some base looks some, but then he'll change it up and he'll mix it up, and then when he gets you in 3rd down, he'll show you some problematic looks. So we know what we're up against with that. We know the focus that we got to have. I think the guys had a great day. You know, great first day. Today's a lot of base down stuff, and then tomorrow we'll get into the 3rd downs. But they'll be ready for it. You know, but you know, obviously great respect for what he does and what their staff on defense does, their players.
One more, Aslan.
Are there backers, like similar to what you were talking about with the defensive ends from last week, where they've got the strength and the speed to kind of keep up with route running and also fill in gaps for run defense?
Yeah, they are. They're. I mean, their linebacking core, really good in coverage, really physical, play downhill. Just like you said, I mean, that tight ends, can they block and catch? D linemen, can they rush and play the run? Their linebackers, you know, those high level players have to do that. They have to understand where they're dropping in coverage, or if they're in man in coverage, they have to play physical in the run. Their guys definitely do that. They'll create, you know, they'll create some problems for you in the box, whether they're going against O-line or tight ends. They do a great job. Great set of linebackers.
Okay, thanks, guys.
Thanks, guys.